Las Vegas. Welcome back to Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show with Trish Williams and
Tiana Carroll.
Here
we are.
We're back
Happy New
again.
Year.
Happy New Year. We are in 2023. We haven't seen y'all since last year.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. But we're back. We didn't go anywhere. So opening up this year, we have some great show topics, tutorials, things like that we're going to be bringing to you this year.
So a lot of exciting stuff coming through the pipelines on how we've scheduled out the show for the next year. So we're excited about that, and we're able to help you guys with all of your real estate questions and your news. And if you find value in that, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel, both on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts from. And we will keep you informed not only of the Vegas market and housing trends that are going on, but we will also have segments throughout the year, first-time home buyers, what it's like to sell houses, so many things that'll be coming up this year. So make sure you join us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you get all that information. And we're starting off the new year with our segment on getting a new home, first-time home buyer tips.
New year, new home.
New year, new home. I love it. Before we get into that, we are going to do our numbers, because I think that is one of the best ways that we get to educate people out there, is talking about what the market is doing and what those numbers look like.
Absolutely. And not only is it educating people out there, doing the numbers every week is definitely education for myself. When people are talking to me about what's going on with the market, or they're watching. I watched the news yesterday, so I was.
Oh yeah. Dun, dun, dun. How did that go?
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, we're going into a deep recession and all of this stuff. Again, the news is saying that, and I'm like, but the numbers aren't showing that we're dropping any further. Actually, this week, and I spoke with a couple people because I made some phone calls after I watched the news, and I'm like, am I the only person that got really busy in this last week? So I made some phone calls, and some other people were like, yeah, we had a huge uptick in activity this week. I was out showing houses, and 6 homes, 5 of them are in contract. Whoa. I'm like, are all these homes just amazing, or is this an indicator that we have more activity? And I think it's definitely an indicator that we're getting more activity.
I think you're right. I think that Vegas has always been its own petri dish when it comes to Vegas real estate, right? We're one of those places that's the first to climb up high. We drop down low. It's always a little bit different here than other places, so we get sort of that extreme market. So we're always in the news and catching headlines. But I think in reality, we're pretty damn stable. Can I say damn? We're saying damn. We're pretty damn stable in reality. Well, don't give me that option, Trish. Come on, man.
Let's do it.
So, but when the market started to shift, it was swift and efficient when it happened. We're like, oh, market's going to adjust. Let's adjust. We adjusted quickly. Everybody was on board. We did price reductions. It kind of slowed down when they started pumping the brakes on that interest rate. And then we sort of kind of evened out, and in true typical fashion, we had all of the same indicators through the holidays that we see typically each year. And then we are seeing people coming out of the woodworks, filling out loan applications, touching their toe in the water, going, oh, so I think we're going to buy a house this year. What do you think? Can you help? Or any of those things. And those are all great indicators, because that's how we judge what our business is doing, right? And so those are all great indicators that there's still going to be real estate that happens in Vegas. Believe it or not, whether the news says we're doing it or not, we are doing it.
And I do think I said this before, and I really do feel good about this statement, is that we started first before a lot of the other cities across the country.
It was fast and swift here.
Yeah, and we kind of already went through what everybody else is going to be going through, because I would call this last quarter a deep recession in housing for us, right?
So are those made up words? Deep recession, shallow recession,
that's what
house recession.
That's what the news is calling everything now.
All
so
right.
Deep recession. But I would call this last few months, because we literally went from 3,000 to 4,000 sales a month down to 1,500 is where we were at.
That was our lowest month so far. I mean, we don't have our official numbers for December of 22 yet, because
that's
next week. So come and join us next week.
Yeah.
That's like, share, subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Next week we'll have the official numbers, but 15 was November, and that was the slowest month.
Yeah.
And that was all after we've corrected through that September, October. We came into August, September, October. Vegas was like, nope, we're not going to mess around. Let's just fix it now and be done with it. And it feels like that's what we did.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this, but I don't think that we're going to see any more adjustments or, substantial drops in prices. Besides someone had mentioned, one of our listeners, thank you, he's a new follower, and thank you for watching.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Welcome, thank you, we're glad you're here. But he had mentioned that he still thinks that we have another adjustment of approximately 10% based off where list prices are. However, my response to that is that 10% adjustment of where list prices are is really kind of already taking place, because the price you see listed when you add in the concessions and, people are offering under in a lot of cases on the list, we're getting that adjustment. At the end of the day, the sold prices are giving that extra adjustment. So I really think that we have that accounted for as well. So we'll see what the year brings.
Well, I think there's always going to be ups and downs in real estate. Do I think there's going to be another extreme down, like the extreme down we just experienced? It's possible. They are going to change interest rates again. They've already said it. We have the beginning of February, end of March. Both of those days are on the calendar to keep an eye on that. So that is going to affect buyers. I think now that sellers are wrapping their head around that they're not going to get big inflated prices, come spring, they'll start to come out of the woodworks and there'll be some inventory. Do I think it's going to be a lot of inventory? Hell no. No.
But we are going to, we've got to see some down payment assistance programs this year. We have to see them.
Yeah. They're coming back and they're having different guidelines, different programs.
Yeah, they usually come around spring. So I'm expecting something to come out. And we, rates, I've been hearing that they could hit 9 by the end of this year. I hope not. But if that does, they're going to come down again. They will not stay high forever. And I actually found an interesting article about that we'll talk about today once we get into news.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's get to our numbers so we can get into our news, because I want to hear about an interesting article.
Okay, great. So for our news, our single-family residences that we have on the market right now, 6,097.
Okay, so a little lower than when we were playing in the 7,500 range, but we came to about 6,000, and that's where we've been for the past 4 or 5 weeks now. Well, not even that long.
Few weeks, yeah.
I mean, the holidays felt like forever. But for a few weeks, we've been playing in that just about $6,000 range, and then we're not seeing much in the way of price reductions the way we were 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, when they were in the thousands.
Right, when we were $1,400. Nope, 12 to 1,400 reductions each week. It's not happening right now. We had a 588 this week.
Yep.
So,
and then 457 sold. So that would be 12, 6.
You're like, wait, 5, 10, 15, 20, about 2,000.
Yeah. So that'd be about 1,800, a little under 2,000 sales a month.
Right. Which, if it gets there, if that's the numbers that we project, if that's what we report next week, then that's up from our November numbers, which shows that uptick in December business that we saw, which means January should be pretty good, because and then once we start getting it in February, mid-February, people start doing taxes. They're thinking about spring. It's all like, let's buy a house. And I'm like, call me.
Right. I think we're doing good. I really think that we're coming out of this. I think it's playing out the way that I was hoping that it would. We had, a few months of slowdown, and I think it's going to be okay. Some people say it's going to get worse. Maybe it will. I'm on the other side where I think the numbers are showing that it's going to do okay. The numbers are improving.
Yeah. Well, I like your optimism. I too have heard the doomsday. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. Usually they're from people who want it to crash so they can buy.
Right. And that's
I can't buy right now because I'm waiting for the market to crash. I'm like, oh, so you're going to wait yourself out of the market. Okay, those are your bad choices.
There were no FHA loans when the market crashed last time. Remember that, people. Like, no, seriously, I'm not joking. That is a thing that people are not remembering is it was so hard to get a loan, and you couldn't get a loan without 20% during the last crash. So why are people asking or hoping for this crash? Because they still won't be able to buy unless they have the cash saved.
Right.
And some people do, so it depends. But I was talking to someone about this last night when I was, making phone calls like, hey, how's business doing? I'm doing my own research, right?
Okay.
So, I was talking to someone about this. It's like most of the people that are saying be careful where you're getting your real estate advice from.
Just get it here and you'll be good.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be just here, but be very cautious about that, because a lot of times you get advice from people about real estate that have never owned homes. And I hear a lot I'll be sitting down with someone and talking to them about real estate, and they're a renter, and they're telling me all the reasons why it's the worst time to buy, yet they've never owned a home. So I've probably repeated this a few times, but it's kind of like my go-to there is like, go talk to your grandparents. Do your grandparents own a home? Go talk to your grandparents and ask them if buying that home was a bad idea. In the long term, absolutely not.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that have been circling around through fall and winter is affordability, right? Because it all is hand in hand with the recession and, we have this inflation and are homes affordable? Mm-hmm. And the affordability is scaring people off. But in reality, if you don't come into the market, you're never going to see those benefits. And yes, people who have had their homes for 10, 20, 30 years, they're able to leverage that equity in their home, whether they need to HELOC for home improvement, whether they're buying an investment property, they're paying for college for their kid, like whatever. You can't do that if you're renting. So I think that leads us right into our actual show today, which will be New Year, New Home. Let's talk about what buying a home looks like for that first-time home buyer and the benefits that having that home can give them, not only the security of not having people raise your rent and knowing that you have that pride of ownership, but gaining that appreciation, those tax breaks, what that looks like for you in the long run, and how to actually get into a house. Because if you've never done it, it seems like such a daunting task.
Right. And buyers right now, their main concern is like rates. Are rates too high to buy? Should I not be buying because rates are so high? And, all of this. We get it. We hear it.
And we're the broken record, right?
Right.
Buy now, refinance. Buy now, refinance.
Buy now, refinance. Rates are high. That means prices are low. Now, rates are high. Let's talk about that for a second, because this is the interesting article I was talking about. In the 80s, 1981 specifically,
rates, I wish I didn't remember that.
Rates went from 7% to 10%. In the 70s, it was, from the 70s to 1981, in 1981, rates were 19%.
I was going to say everybody goes back to the Reagan administration, and we had 18% interest at that time. Houses were also a lot less expensive at that time, and that's what I was talking about affordability.
Right. Houses were less because rates, with high rates, prices will come down. Yet home prices dropped by 50%, which our home prices have dropped, home sales have dropped by 50%, which our home sales have dropped by 50% due to the rate change since last year. And that didn't stop people. Yes, it had a lot less people buying, but there still were people buying. They said that's when the trend came out for the dual primary bedrooms that were in homes, because people started buying homes to share them, where, one person would live on one side of the home and one person would live in the other. And that's why in those 1980s homes, you see that trend of the dual primary bedrooms, where that went away for a while. It was because that was the trend of home buyers at the time. So people still, even despite 19% rates, now when you guys are complaining about 7% rates, think about 19%. People were still finding ways to own a home, because home ownership is still a great idea.
Still a great idea, still a great investment. And has there ever been a time in history where people weren't buying and selling homes?
I don't think so.
It's never happened where the
Yeah.
market has just stopped. Well, I mean, I wasn't around for the Depression, so maybe then. I don't
Maybe
know.
then, yes.
But that is beyond my scope. But in my lifetime, there has always been, even the biggest crash that we've ever seen, and real estate, the investors came in, there was business happening, things were still working. Those were the great deals. Does everybody wish they could go back to 2008 and buy homes?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Please,
me
I'll
too.
take a dozen.
Me
Thanks.
too. Yep. It was a crazy crazy time and bad idea not to buy during that time. But even then, I remember looking at homes being like, is it the right time? I wasn't in real estate then. I wish I would have known then what I know now.
Well, yeah, everybody would want to be a Monday morning quarterback for that.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I had them all.
Yeah, absolutely. However, FHA limits just raised to 494.5 from 420, so that helps
that was
on
a nice jump.
Purchase power. FHA loans, we'll go into that. Like on buying your first home, first step on buying a home, I would say the first step is committing to buying your home and firing your landlord.
Okay, so that's also the top of my list,
Okay.
right? Before you even think about buying a home, you have to understand your why. Why do you want a home?
Right.
And if you're wanting a home because you want the investment, you want the tax break, you want security so they can't raise your rent or evict you, you just want that stability. Maybe you have a job transfer, maybe you're having a baby and you need space. Like whatever that why is, that is you committing to this. Because buying a home, especially your first time, is emotional. And it's daunting, and there's so many people in your business. Nobody likes to talk about their money anyway, and every time we're like, so what's this mean? What's that? Or how many times have you gotten somebody turn in a bank statement to a lender and they've left page 3 out? And you're like, no, we need the complete statement, thank you.
Right.
So, but they're like holding their information and they're scared and they don't know what to do. So let's walk everybody through buying a home. Once you've committed, new home, new year, you're going to buy a home for whatever your why is.
And people are going to tell you it's not the right time. People are going to tell you you shouldn't do this right now. Again, I bought a condo a couple months ago, and even the realtor, is another state, but even the realtor was like, hey, maybe you should wait this out. You know what? I've had an alert on that whole area of where I wanted to be
I
at.
have no doubt.
And because
You're
that's
the
me.
alert. She's the alert queen if you don't know.
I'm the
Trish.
alert queen. You get alerts on everything.
She's like, this is happening, that's happening. Have alert. There's a notification. Did you know? This is what's going on.
I get 1,000 notifications every day.
Yes.
But yes, I have an alert on the area because I just wanted to see, if there's going to be something better that came up. If I did if I did make a bad decision, no, I literally got the best price of where I wanted to be at. And it's been a couple months, and I still feel good about it. So
yeah,
it is what it is. People are going to tell you different. You need to go with what you feel. Once you commit to the process, you are in it, and you need to be committed in it. The best time to buy is always 5 years ago. It's always I should have did this or I should have did that. But the more you wait, the more you're going to look back saying I should have did it then. You should do it now, because every month when you pay rent, you're throwing it away.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no time like the present, and there's always going to be factors, right? Mm-hmm. For people who bought in the spring, they were paying over appraised value. For people who are buying right now, they're paying that 7% interest rate. If you bought in the 80s, you had 18% interest rate. Okay, there's always going to be whatever the circumstance is that we're dealing with at that moment.
Absolutely.
But buying the house is always going to benefit you.
How many people do you think, and I'm sure there's people out there that were shopping for homes in the 80s and their friends or family said, don't buy now. It's a horrible time to buy. Rates are too high. And they stayed in the rental, and they stayed in the rental. And I'm sure there's people that are still in the rental today.
Yeah, perpetual renters, man. Somebody needs to help them.
Yeah, so there's always going to be people that tell you it's not the right time. So once you commit to buying that home, you're in it. You need to be committed to making this, firing your landlord, going forward with the purchase. Next up is getting pre-approved. Now, we aren't saying that because we love running your credit. I don't run your credit. The lender's going to do it. But there's like this misconception that just there's some reason why we just want to touch people's credit. No.
Oh.
Get pre-approved. You need to know the payment. You need to know what's the amount of the house you're shopping for, because if not, you are doing this whole thing backwards.
How many times have you heard like, well, let's just go look at houses and if I like it, I'll talk to a lender.
And then you get so sad.
What? That is the craziest backwards, backash stuff I ever heard.
Say back-ass.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I almost said worse than that.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Yes.
Let's go see if we find a house and then we'll see if we can buy it. No. Absolutely, when you're buying a house, you need to know what your buying power is, and you need a lender that knows that they can finance you, that when we go to write offers can run taxes and HOAs and talk to you about your payment and know what your costs are. Everybody's so afraid to go buy a house because of the cost. They don't want to look in the face and they don't want to look in the lender, and that fear keeps them away from a very important step into taking to get the home for the first time.
Absolutely. You have to know what you're getting into.
Yep.
You have to know the payment.
got
You
all
don't
riled
want
up.
that to be a surprise when you're out shopping.
Yeah, no, you need to absolutely know what your buying power is.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to talk to your lender. And when you talk to a lender, some people, there's different lenders, right? You can get your broker, you can go to your bank or your credit union. There's online lenders that you can fill out a 15-minute application online. Now, there's a difference between the pre-qual and the pre-approval letter, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that a bit. But you want to get that ball rolling because you have to. Money is the most important thing for a first-time home buyer when it comes to buying the house. You're going to need to know what your closing costs are, your down payment, what your payments are going to look like. None of that happens until we talk to a lender, and we need that pre-approval to even write an offer.
Absolutely.
We can't go shopping and be like, oh my God, I love this house, I want it. I'll be like, well, we can't write an offer.
My buyer says they're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. My
It's not gonna
buyer
happen.
says they could do it. Just take my offer. It's fine.
No, they're not taking a home off the market without a letter. Now, Tiana, do you like shoes?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little. I love shoes.
Maybe a little bit.
So when you go out shoe shopping, before you go out shopping, before you go out in the store, you do have in mind what you're planning on spending, right? You have in mind, you know you have this amount of money to spend on shoes, or this amount that is a budget to spend on shoes.
Right.
Same thing when you're going with houses. You need to know what your budget is before you go out shopping, because if not, it's happened before, you're scrambling like, I need these, and you're gonna either go over budget, have to rearrange the things that you're doing. You need to know what you're shopping for.
Yep, you need to know what you're shopping for, and when you start the home buying process, make yourself like a little Google Drive folder or something, and throw in like your last 2 months bank statements, 30 days of pay stubs, your last 2 years taxes, a copy of your driver's license, so that way when you get to the lender, you can start the process. It's not wasting your time talking and then going and gathering paperwork and then coming back to the lender and all of that, especially in a fast-moving market. We wouldn't have time for that.
Yeah.
So
You want to be organized.
Right, you want to be organized, you want to get that stuff, and that's the basic stuff. They're going to ask you for everything else. They're going to be in your business when you get to the underwriting process.
Oh, yeah.
So get real used to that. But in the beginning, have that stuff prepared so that way we have an idea with that lender what we're looking at, what we can set your search up for, because that's an important criteria, besides location and your wants and needs. What are we going to pay for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So next step is decide, and this kind of goes before the pre-approval in some cases.
Dropping stuff here.
Decide if you're going to purchase new or resell. I think this is an important thing to bring up, because when I talk to, if a buyer calls me, I want to buy a home, that's one of the first things I ask them. Are you looking for a new home? Are you looking for resell? Once we go through a couple questions, and the reason why is because before we send you to a lender, if you are going to or want to purchase brand new, right now there's so many builder incentives that they're going to offer you, paying your closing cost, sometimes rate buy downs, and those things they're going to only offer if you go through their preferred lender. So instead of doing multiple credit checks, if you're interested in new, let's see what those options are right there. Let's visit a couple of those communities and make sure we eliminate those or decide to move forward on those before we start the pre-approval process on resale, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you do it. I don't really do it when somebody calls me and says they want to look at buying a house or whatever. I never really jump in to the new build, because the people who want to buy new build usually call me and say, I want a brand new house, something
Right.
that nobody ever lived in. This
Right.
is what I want. They're usually, new build buyers are usually, not always, but usually very decisive. That's what I want. I've purchased, used homes in the past, and now I'm going to get my dream house the way I want it, with the whatever I want on it done when I walk in. I was like, all right, so go ahead. But yes, you're right. That goes back to your why, or being committed. Like, you need to have an idea of what your goal is so we can help you achieve it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once you have your pre-approval, you start shopping. If you are going new build, never go to the builder without your realtor, because once you do, they're not going to allow you realtor representation. Person that works in the sales office is always very nice, but
And helpful.
And-
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, depending upon the market I'm in.
Yeah.
I
No.
like an agent in the build.
they're always nice and helpful, but they do work for the builder. They do not work for you. So if you don't have your own representation, you could find yourself in some situations that may not benefit you well. So always make sure you tell your realtor if you want to visit a new home community, or even an open house. If you're going into open houses, and I get it, it's not planned. You drive down the street, you see a sign, you're working with an agent already. If you're going to visit that open house, I tell my clients, go ahead and go in the open house, not the new home community. That's a big deal. But go ahead and go in the open house, but give them my information instead of yours, and let them know that you're already working with an agent.
Yeah, that's something I do in my buyer consult too. I give them a stack of cards, and I'm like, shoppers always shop.
Yes.
And you're going to want to see everything under the planet.
I'm not telling you can't.
Right? So you're going to go to an open house, and it's going to be above your budget or below your budget, but you want to see it anyway. Go. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Have fun. Here's a stack of cards. Tell them to call me.
Absolutely, and it will be fine. I guess there's realtors out there that might say, like, no, you can't come in this open house. Well, okay, well, that is what it is.
I've never, ever,
I
ever
don't
come
think I've
across
heard
that. Even realtors holding open houses, yes, they're there to capture leads, but they are very respectful of people, other agents, and their clients. And if somebody walks into an open house and they've got their agent's card with them to hand me and say, I have representation, I'd like to see this house, they are going to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Determine your area. I think it's very important. Vegas is a huge city.
A little bit.
There's
It's
so
getting
much
bigger
to
by the
choose
minute.
from. Now that we have inventory, you have so many homes to choose from. This wasn't the case last year. It was like, hey, whatever home has a roof is going to work.
Yeah, it's a house, I'll take it.
Yeah, but now there's so many choices, and it can be daunting. So choose where you're going to live. Where do you want to live? General area. Choose.
Okay, so this is something that drives me a little bit nuts,
Okay.
right? Because if you go through like the Mike and Tom Ferry programs or whatever, which are real estate coaching and training
coding,
or whatever,
yeah.
and they'll be like, so you want to go to Rainbow, but would you consider going down as far as Jones? And they'd be like, yes or no. Well, what about Decatur? Can you get to Decatur? Maybe. What about Valley View? Oh no, Valley View is too far. I
Okay.
don't put any of those restrictions, right? Like, I set up a portal and I let them know the general area or whatever, but I always search outside of the area and like prices. And a lot of times I just search for prices when I'm doing my own search, and they're like,
Start
send
with-
me a little.
Start with the price.
Yeah, that's where I start. And I'm just like, listen, for 600,000, this is what you can get all over the valley. Are you
Yep.
familiar with the valley? No, go drive around it. Go to grocery stores in the area and decide. So, okay, that all comes down to the why. I have put all of that in the beginning.
Right.
Like, where's your location? How many bedrooms you need? Is there a school district? All that. I don't worry about that. I think our strengths as realtors come in the negotiations and the keeping the deal together and keeping the client on track with, this is the goal.
Absolutely. My next item there was start with a general search, which is broad, and narrow it down.
Yeah, no, I start
Yeah.
with the general because how many times have somebody said, I need to be in 89149, but then they end up buying in 89129. And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, oh, it's just 2 streets over, but it's fine. So I don't get, unless it's, a specific school district or something specific to work, but I only want to be 15 minutes away from work. That's the whole radius. That gives you more location than you think.
And it goes back to the consultation of talking to the clients about that when we meet with them. So if someone tells me they want to live in Green Valley, and I say, okay, Green Valley, that's great. Is Henderson okay? You know, is it okay to go outside of Green Valley? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Is Northwest okay? Oh, absolutely not. But sometimes people are like, maybe. You know what's over there. So it's really that initial
I've had people
consultation.
start out in Sky Canyon and ended up buying in Cadence. It's been like, okay, complete opposite side of town. So all of that stuff I don't really worry about. It's not my job to find their home, right? It's my job to take them to the home. It's my job to let them know what their options are. It's my job to advise them on what I think we should be making offers at, to negotiate that contract, to facilitate the deal. But I can't tell you if the light is good. I can't tell you if the school district's good, if it's a safe area. Those are decisions that you have to make.
So a good rule of thumb there is when we set up the search or the alert or the criteria in the MLS, I think there should be at minimum around, right now with the way we have inventory, I'd say at minimum around 50 homes to choose from the search.
Right.
If you're not seeing what you like, let's open and broaden. But you don't want to get alerts or searches that have 300 or 500 homes because that's too general. You're going to spend hours going through houses and it's just going to all start to jumble and seem overwhelming. So we want to narrow it down enough.
These buyers are looking at houses not only on their agent's MLS portal, but they're on Zillow, they're on Redfin, they're on Nifty Nickel. I have a client right now who's like looking in the newspaper. I'm like, oh, snap, that's a real thing? Okay, we still do that?
Yes.
But yeah, so they're out there looking at everything. So it doesn't matter if I send them 2 homes or 200 homes. They've probably seen all 200 homes.
Yeah.
So that buyers love to buy. They want to shop, they window shop, they look at everything. I get that. But when it comes to actually buying your first home, there are certain things that you need to do. When you dedicate that home, we're not going to look at 50 homes in person. That's a waste of your time and my time. And if you're looking at that many homes and you're not making a decision, you're not clear on your commitment or your why.
And it's finding out what it is that you need.
Yep.
Yeah. And then once you find an area that works for you and you decide, like, I want to live in this area. I've checked out all these other areas. I've drove around. I've seen spots. This is where I want to live. Go to the grocery stores. Get a feel for the community. See what kind of people are that are in the community, how you feel in the grocery store. The thing is, if you're going to live in a house, you're going to go to that grocery store that's nearby at least once a week, if not more. You've got to like the place, I guess, to be able to know that you're going to go there or not. Another decision that buyers need to think about is, do they want an HOA or not? That's one thing that you can talk about in the beginning. Are you going to buy a home that has an HOA or a home that doesn't have an HOA? There's definitely a lot of pros and cons there. We aren't going to go all into the pros and cons
We
right
actually
now,
have a whole episode on HOAs from last year. You can go search that.
Yeah, and we could always talk about that again. Turnkey or fixer-upper.
Yeah.
If you're buying a home with financing, fixer-uppers are limited of what you can do, right?
Yeah.
But if you want a home that's turnkey, move-in ready, there's pros and cons there.
Now you can get fixer-uppers and stuff with FHA loans. There's just certain things, and I write them into my contracts about smoke detectors, painted eaves, straps on the water heater, because those are all going to be things that an FHA appraiser is going to call out for that loan.
It can't have any substantial roof damage.
But there's certain things, there's certain things like it has to have a floor. That,
carpet, or not carpet or flooring.
Right, there has to be some sort of flooring happening. It can't just be raw.
Right.
So those are certain things depending, but usually those fixer-uppers and people who are doing that, they're going into it for business, so they're hard money loan, or they have investors, or they have their seed. They're usually not first-time home buyers that want fixer-uppers. First-time home buyers are usually like, I need a space and I want everything to be done and I want it perfect in the perfect location and I only want to pay $100 a month.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So besides being delusional.
Well, if you're quoting like Dave Ramsey gives a lot of financial advice, in his Financial Peace University, he quotes that you should buy the home with the ugly wallpaper, the home with the green carpet and the flower wallpaper, and the one that nobody wants, you can negotiate the best deal on. Does it have great bones? Is it in a good neighborhood? That might be an option if you're willing to do it. Some buyers are like, no way, I'm not going to go in there and do all that stuff to that house. It's not even worth it to me. Some buyers are like, yeah, I'm going to be at Home Depot every weekend, save some money, get the house that I want, and make it the house that I want. So really, that needs to be a conversation that we have when you're out shopping for homes. How do you want this? How move-in ready do you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that during the shopping process, that's when people sort of reel in and get slapped in the face with reality and be like, oh, so I can't get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath granite countertops with a pool in Summerlin, no HOA for $200,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't. That's not a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all conversations you want to have before shopping, so you're not finding that out while we're out looking.
Yep. So once we sort of narrow down all of the things and we do the shopping, because right now we're talking about location and fixer-upper and this and that, the actual buying process when we go out and we shop really kicks off once you're making an offer.
Yeah.
And making the offer is the second scariest thing for a buyer to get to besides talking to the lender. First, they drag their feet. They don't want to talk to a lender. Let's go look at houses first. If I find something, I'll talk to a lender. No, we're going to find out what you can buy so that way you know what your options are.
Absolutely.
Then we get that, now we're out shopping, we've picked the right location, the right house, we've made some concessions so it's not going to be fixer-upper, it might have ugly wallpaper in the bathroom, but we can live with that. Then we need to make an offer. And they drag their feet and they get scared because that offer is sort of committing to the process then, right?
Yes, and making an offer, we need to know price, we need to know terms, how long is it before you can close,
Right.
What's the amount of the offer we're going to make, and then what concessions are we asking from the seller. Most offers these days are asking the seller to pay some closing cost or some rate buy downs or hell, anything in some cases.
Right,
all
and
of
this
it.
is where your agent is going to be a benefit when you come to the offer price because they're going to know, or they should know, if you've interviewed agents and you've talked to them about the market and they've talked to you about houses, you've seen houses with them, they should know what that market is like and how to put you in the best position to make the strongest offer. Like right now, I have people who want concessions and they want to knock down list price and they want everything under the stars. And the people who are getting greedy and the ones that I tell them, I don't think that offer is going to be accepted. And they're like, oh, but they'll counter it. And I'm like, yeah, our sellers really aren't in a headspace to do a lot of countering. They're kind of beat up right now.
Yeah,
and so
it depends too on days on the market. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of factor, and your agent will be able to advise you on that. And taking that advice and writing those offers, if you love a home, then write an offer that shows that you love the home.
Right. Yeah. And again, those are, like days on the market, things like that. Those are all things for review, comps in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of factors when writing an offer, and that's why you have a real estate agent that can, discuss those with you.
Even direct competition. If you have a model match or a home in the neighborhood that is comparable and that's been sitting for 3 months and you just got this new house that came on the market and everybody went to go see it because it's new, but you're comparing it to the other one. It's like really apples for apples and this one's a better price. Why are we fooling around with this one when we can get that one? Yeah.
And sometimes, sometimes it's emotional things that can get in the way there. And then finally, we talk about the closing dates, and it'll be the dates that we have the keys. And there's so many more things to this process.
I was going to say, this
is a 30-minute show, so we've already went over our time. We're generalizing this.
Yeah.
But one more thing I wanted to talk about before the end of the show is lease agreements. I'm sure you always have people asking you about their lease agreements, and maybe the time that they're buying a home could be a couple months before their lease agreement's up, and they'll ask us what are their options there. Well, it really depends on what's in your lease,
right?
And what your agreement with that property management or that landlord is. However, I always tell people reach out and talk to them. Because sometimes
Again,
you'll
it's fear.
see, yeah.
They don't want to talk to a lender. They don't want to write an offer. They don't want to talk to the landlord. Like, you have to get all of your ducks in a row. Find out from them. Maybe there's a lease buyout. Maybe if this process takes longer, because in spring, the process was taking longer. People are coming to me with 2 months left on their lease, and it was taking 3 to 4 months to get in a house. I'm like, so you're going to go over. You need to talk to your landlord or management company and say, can I do a month-to-month? If I am doing a month-to-month, how much extra each month is that concession going to cost me to be on month-to-month versus that lease? Do you have to go into some sort of temporary housing? You need to know, and some people don't want to look it in the mirror.
Right.
Look it in the face. They're afraid of it.
Right, and absolutely, and that is also there is, in most cases, and this is, I've found this to be true in almost all cases, if your lease is up in April and you leave in February, and in March, they rent it out to a new tenant, they're not going to charge you for the additional months, but you never know if it's going to get rented out right away. Those are all just different factors. But talk to them. Conversations can get you such a long way. And another thing to keep in mind, if you close in February, like if your closing date was February 15th on Valentine's Day, so you got paired up with a new house.
That's the 14th,
Is it the 14th?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Day after. Anyways, your closing date is on February 15th. Your first mortgage payment is not going to be until April 1st.
Yep.
So you do have some time in between, which some people find that they're like, oh, that's absolutely doable because it gives me time to transition and I can, I still have my rent payment this month, but then I don't have the mortgage payment starting until the following month. So those are things that are helpful as well.
Yeah. I know,
Well,
we're running out of time and there's so much stuff to cover. Okay, so
we have more shows. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere.
We're going to be here all year.
Yes, yes.
So, when you're looking to buy a new home for the first time, you'll want to get a referral from family, friends for your realtor. Have conversations. It doesn't have to be the first person that you meet.
Or
right?
you could call us.
You can call us. You can
Yes.
call me, 702-379-9948. I would be more than willing to help you. Trish would absolutely be willing to help you get into a new home in this new year. How do they get a hold of you real quick?
702-308-2878. Usually it's a short conversation where we go over options, needs,
But not on a show. It's not a
and
short
everything
show.
there. It's not a short show. But we'll start with the initial consultation to make sure that we're all lined up and ready to go, and and then we take the next steps from there.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're going to have to circle back because we barely broached the buying process for a new buyer. And that process includes a lot of things like getting the realtor, talking to the lender, learning how to make the offers, what those offers consist of, getting your home inspection, getting your appraisal, what costs are going to be out of pocket. So I think we're going to have to circle back around and really talk about this.
We'll need to break that up into a few different shows of the entire process.
Right,
Yeah.
because there's a lot going on and you should definitely be educated on what that process looks like if it's your first time, but don't be afraid of it. Make sure that you jump on the ball and get into owning real estate if it's your goal, because it's beneficial in so many ways, which we'll talk about on another show. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
And when you're when you're subscribing, when you go in there, you're going to see all of the old shows. So we do have shows that are available
we've got content
on what happens during a home inspection, what is an appraisal all about. So we do have a lot of things. Just go look back. The titles are pretty self-explanatory.
Yep, the titles are self-explanatory. There's lenders in there, and there's home inspectors, and then there's going to be more in the next few months coming up on what we're going to talk about for that home buying process. But we don't want to run over. You guys have busy days. We have busy days, and thanks for tuning in this week, you guys. Make sure you join us next week on Vegas Realty Check for all your local Las Vegas real estate news.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good week.